Welcome back, fight fans. It's your boy Ak.
And I'm Barak, the boxing bully.
And this is the DAZN Boxing Show, but not a regular DAZN Boxing Show. This is the pound for pound talk with Ak and Barak's top 10 pound for pound list. It's been a while since we updated the list, but after this weekend's fight, it's about that time. That's right, we're gonna give you an updated pound for pound list right before this year ends. Barak, I'm excited about this list. You know, I always talk to you about, we gotta update the list. We gotta update the list. It's about that time.
Yeah, you know what it is? We're living in the best era in boxing, where it's interchangeable at the 1, 2, 3 level. And in reality, if we wait a few more days and Inoue gets an incredible win, if he wins and becomes undisputed at 122 pounds, I don't know. I don't know where he goes.
The list might change again.
So it's crazy, man. This is just a great era, and I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I just want to echo that when it's so hard for us to even come up with this list. I mean, we've been debating for weeks about this list, and we're so indecisive. So for those that didn't make the top 10 list, trust me, we wish there was a top 20 list because there's so many great fighters knocking on that number 10 spot door, and the top 10 are interchangeable. So basically, this, like you say all the time, look, people think we're crazy because we say this is the best era in boxing, but we're showing you and giving you evidence why this is the best era in boxing. 100%. When you talk about all the weight classes that have stars in the sport, all of the fighters that are dominant in the sport, and how hard it is to come up with this list is a testament to how great this era is. So we're gonna set it off real quick. We'll start with number 1, none other than Terrence Bud Crawford with a huge win this year. I mean, one of the biggest wins in the last decade over Errol Spence in an undisputed welterweight showdown. Dominance. He's been dominated at that division for so long. I mean, there's nobody else that we feel could be at number 1 other than Terrence Crawford.
I mean, he's the most dominant fighter in the sport. 100% knockout ratio at 147 pounds. For many years, people said he was too small. He actually shocked the world with his performance over Errol Spence. So there's no doubt in my mind, and probably everybody's mind, that he's the best fighter in the world right now, number 1.
That's right. And here's a fighter at number 2 that was also at number 1 for a very long time and had boxing on his back for a very long time, and is right there, right behind Terrence Crawford. Big win over Jermell Charlo, none other than Canelo Alvarez, still the face of boxing.
100%. And let me just remind you guys real quick that years ago, people were saying, Canelo, you're too small to fight Triple G. So for 5 years, he was fighting at 154 pounds. He wouldn't go over 155. He had his own weight class at 155 for 5 fights because he was trying to make himself believe that he was a 160-pound fighter. Even Oscar De La Hoya back then was saying, well, he's not ready for 160 yet. And everyone was saying he was scared of Triple G and he was too small. That same guy moved up to 168 pounds. Not Triple G, not anybody else that was fighting at 154, moved up to 168 and became dominant. He's just special, but he's a small guy.
Don't forget fighting at 175 as well. Yeah. 2 big fights at 175.
Small guy. So he fought Jermell Charlo, who out of his last 11 fights had 8 knockouts, and he was undisputed. To me, that's a big win. He's not bigger than Jermell. He's just been fighting bigger guys and proving himself great.
No question. And at number 3, none other than the monster. Small guy, but big punch, speed, power, skill level. I mean, this guy, Naoya Inoue, is one of the most exciting fighters to watch in all of boxing. And when he fights, you got to keep your eyes glued to the screen because he knocks people out, and he does it in fashion. Big win over Stephen Fulton this year in a unification bout. I mean, this guy also on some people's list is number 1, Barak, but we got him at number 3, Mr. Inoue.
Crazy. I'm not mad at that. I mean, I am mad at that because I like Terrence's win over Errol, but I mean, a few days from now, he's going to fight for undisputed at 122. So he's going to be, if he wins, he's going to be a 2-time undisputed champion like Terrence Crawford, So this is tough. This is a tough era to judge, man. So have some mercy on us. Inoue has it all. First time I saw him, I was like, this is like Manny Pacquiao, but better.
Well, here's a guy at number 4 who made a big jump on the list, is continuing to prove to the world to the
They
fans.
ain't ready for this, bro. They're
That
not
he
ready for
is
this.
one of the best fighters in the world. Recently, we were in attendance. I'm gonna say, and you're gonna know who I'm talking about right now, in the Bay Area in San Francisco. Big win, title fight over Regis program. Talking about none other than a dream, Devin Haney. Masterful performance. He showed power at 140. He showed distance, skill level, defense. I mean, it was a picture-perfect performance. I mean, this is the year of amazing performances. I mean, when you talk about guys like Terrence Crawford, what a performance. When you talk about guys like Devin Haney, when you talk about guys like Bam Rodriguez, I mean, the dominance that is happening right now, especially in this fourth quarter in boxing, is remarkable. And this young man started young, and he became undisputed at 135. And what he had to do to become undisputed, going to another country, doing it twice, and coming back and fighting one of the best fighters in our era in a close fight, but came out with the victory. And he gets all the credit in the world in beating Lomachenko. And what a performance against Regis Prograis. We had to put Devin Haney at the number 4 spot.
Oh, yes, sir. And I know people probably will not like that, get upset. Maybe they say that's too high on the list. But there's such a thing as a perfect fight, and we saw it. But you know what? I think it's because of the close fight that he had with Lomachenko. People are forgetting that Lomachenko is a Hall of Famer, probably. A proven great fighter. If you make a fight that close, then you're a great fighter. So to me, that was a great win for him. His body attack was special in that fight. And he proved himself to me, especially in that fight. But then this fight, to fight Regis and to shut him out completely like that, I mean, if he turned it up a little bit more, he probably could have got a knockout, but that's besides the point. I'm just happy that Devin is at number 4.
And at number 5, we're going with a gentleman that hasn't fought this year yet, so it's kind of tough. I mean, he could have slid down a few slots because there are other fighters on this list that fought this year, but he's such a talent, right? And in beating a Canelo Alvarez last year, Demetrius Bivol is at our number 5 on the pound for pound list because of his skill level, what we feel he is, and how he's also dominated in that ring.
It's hard to slide the last year's fighter of the year down too far.
Too many
You know what I mean? And it's not his fault sometimes. It's not a fighter's fault. Sometimes they don't fight. But then again, you still got to get penalized. He's about to fight Lyndon Arthur this year. That's not a great fighter, but he could have a great performance. We'll see.
No doubt. All right, so we're going to move on to our number 6 spot. Heavyweight unified champion, skilled fighter, former undisputed at cruiserweight. Alexander Usyk is still one of the best fighters in the world. Also, of course, we want to see him against Tyson Fury. We want to see him in those big fights. We want an undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, but that's yet to happen. He has 2 big wins over Anthony Joshua, obviously, but he's still one of the guys, and we got Usyk at that number 6 spot.
I mean, his skill level is undeniable. The only question mark was that supposed low blow by Daniel Dubois. The referee called it a low blow. I spoke to other referees outside of obviously that fight, and they said it wasn't low. I didn't think it was low. I thought his trunks was above his navel, making, that top part of the cup legal. But it is what it is. It was a tough fight. He got back up, but he was able to stop him. So he's still on the list. He's still on the list. He's still a great fighter. He just slid down a little bit.
No question about it. And our number 7 slot goes to a young fighter who arguably is probably the most skilled boxer in all of boxing on a lot of people's lists. He won a title at 126, became unified champion at 130 in big fights, beating big names there, and just became champion at 135, winning a vacant title. Shakur Stevenson is our number 7 guy on the top 10 pound for pound list.
Now, he just fought a guy who, De Los Santos, if he fights somebody else, we'll probably see how great De Los Santos is. I watched that fight again, and he literally beat a very, very good fighter with one hand. with one hand, with a jab, and occasionally he timed them perfectly with a left hook. Now, this is a very skillful boxer in De Los Santos, and he shut him out with one hand. Amazing performance. Was it an exciting fight? No. Was I on the edge of my seat? Not at all. But I was looking and examining how well he was able to land his shots, not get hit, and like he said, pump fake him. You know, made him think he was doing more than what he really was doing. And he shut him out.
And you talk about dominance, and we talk about fighters that need to be on the pound-for-pound list are guys that dominate, and it wasn't an exciting, brutal fight, but he did dominate with one hand because there was no question as to who won that fight. So that's why he's our number 7 guy. Our number 8 guy is a guy that, with another big fight, might go down to number 5 or number 4. Maybe they're talking about him fighting Devin Haney. He's the guy that beat the guy at 140, beating Josh Taylor. Also one of the most skilled fighters in boxing, very explosive. This kid can be a number 1 pound-for-pound guy with 2 or 3 big wins in his career in 2024. He's that skilled, he's that explosive. He's our number 8 guy, Teofimo Lopez.
He is the champion at 140 pounds. He's the lineal champ. He was also the lineal champ at 135 pounds. He just reminded us, you know, for the great guy in Josh Taylor, but he just reminded us how athletic he is, how great he is, how you know, he's just beautiful in that ring. And he totally outclassed Josh Taylor. Had to throw him back on that list where he belonged.
You know, and just to add to that really quick, Barak, I mean, this guy, you know, arguably was undisputed. Maybe not technically, but at 135. And he also beat the guy that was undisputed at 140. So, I mean, in theory, you could say he's 2-time undisputed champion in two division undisputed. Yeah.
If it wasn't these issues with the belts, the franchise and stuff like that, he definitely would have been. He definitely would have been undisputed at 135. We should have been calling him that. And if it wasn't issues with the belt, you know, people getting stripped, I'm not mad at that, whatever. We'll accept it. But yes, undisputed in 2 weight classes.
Our number 9 guy on the top 10 pound-for-pound list is Akim Barak's updated pound-for-pound list. Barak, this guy didn't have a win this year. Big loss against Terrence Crawford. He was at number 5 or number 4, so he was high on our list. But because of the lack of winning,
he was number 3. One time he
was
number 3 on our list.
And we're talking about Errol Spence, who's still obviously one of the best fighters in the world. There's no way we could have taking him off this top 10 pound-for-pound list, and him moving up to 154, fighting a big win, he'll jump back up, but we had to put him at number 9.
Or he'll just maintain, who knows? I mean, everybody's fighting really good fighters nowadays, so it's just tough. This list is very hard to make. You got David Benavidez, you got so many guys, man, that really should be here. It's just a tough call.
And lastly, you know, there was another guy in this slot named Tank Davis. I think he might have been number 9 or number 10 on our last list, you know, but Tank had a big win against Ryan Garcia. But when you really dissect the resume and the real world titles that he's won, you know, you're talking about Pedrosa. You know, that was a very long time ago, and he's beat credible guys like Gamboa. He's beaten guys like Pitbull Cruz. Big win at 140 over Barrios, which is, to me, is one of his most impressive wins to date against Barrios, a guy that went the distance with Keith Thurman. Now, let me be clear. Tank Davis is indeed one of the best fighters in the world, but with that, the criteria also entails big wins against big opponents and accolades.
I mean, everybody else on the list are fighting championship fights.
Champions.
You know, everybody else on the list are fighting
and he was
championship
on our top 10 pound.
We were the first ones to put him on a pound-for-pound list. So we understand his greatness.
We understand his greatness for sure. But we have to start. We need to see big wins. We don't put guys on pound-for-pound lists because they're A-sides or they're big draws or they're stars. That helps a little bit, but more so is skill dominance and accolades and accomplishments. So he slides off the list because a young man, 112-pound beast, monster, this past weekend had a dominant performance against Sonny Edwards in a unification bout. And we're talking about Jesse Ban Rodriguez. That right jab was a power shotgun. His his dominance in the ring at that size, Barak, the power and skill level he shows and accuracy and punches. I mean, look at the percentages. Look at the power shots landed. Now, he doesn't stop. Big knockout win over Sonny Edwards. Jesse Bam Rodriguez makes the pound for pound list at number 10 with a huge win over Sonny Edwards. I can't wait to see what's next for Bam Rodriguez, Barak.
I'm so excited. He probably should have been on the list a long time ago. You know, I'm just so excited to see what this guy is going to do in the future. He's so humble, so great. He just showed he just can do it all in there. You know, him getting his jaw broken his last fight against Hernandez and still chasing him down and winning that fight. Man, that spoke volumes to me. And then this dominant performance over somebody who's very, very crafty, who hardly ever gets hit. Man, he's incredible. Like I said, we just got the best era in boxing right now, and like this is incredibly hard to even put these 10 on the list.
It was extremely hard. There's so many guys. Look, Gervonta Davis, they're talking about him fighting Devin Haney. Maybe he jumps up to number 3 after the next fight. There's so many things that can happen. You mentioned Benavidez. There are tons of other guys out there that are right here. So our next update, it might be 2-3 new names on the list. We don't know, but that's our top 10 pound for pound fighters at the end of 2023. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace and love. We're out of here.